Over the last few weeks, the new TotalDrama season has attracted more and more eyes than the fans and the producers could have ever imagined. The season is filled with a broad cast of 16 contestants, and since I've already talked about one that I didn't like, I decided that I would today talk about one that I did. So today I want to talk about why not only does this character work, but is probably the best character in the new season. Introducing Bowie. Bowie is introduced in episode 1 as the first openly gay contestant in TotalDrama history. From his audition tape we learn he's a very competitive person who will do anything to win.
I'm Bowie, and I'd be your first openly gay contestant. FYI, I'm very competitive. Swish! Last year I was prom king and queen.
When I first saw Bowie, I was very skeptical about his character. It's becoming a very common theme in TV shows and movies to have their gay characters not just be gay, but be the most gay, almost to a point where the writers give them no personality besides their sexuality, which in turn makes the character not feel like a character or even a person, but rather an insert for the writers to say, hey, we're woke too. So you can probably tell how pleasantly surprised I was when Bowie turned out to be such a great character. One of the biggest standouts for me was just how intelligent Bowie is, and equally how good he is at playing people. It took me rewatching the show to actually realize how early on he started to marinate Emma. Literally before the campers had even dropped off their stuff in the cabins, Bowie was already working on gaining an edge. Also, throughout the season, Bowie seems to be easily able to adapt to not only new situations, but new people as well. Where he acts one way in front of Emma, he's completely different towards Julia. I would liken him to someone like Heather, able to read pretty much anyone immediately. One of his best scenes in episode 7, when after separating from Emma, he drops the best friend act and agrees to ditch Emma to go find eggs with Julia.
Oh! I saw an abandoned nest with 2 eggs in it. I'll ditch Chase so we can have them, if you promise to vote for Chase.
Lead the way.
He knows perfectly well Emma would never get mad at him or suspect him of betrayal, so he takes the advantage at no disadvantage to him. Bowie's character demonstrates the rule of show don't tell perfectly. The audience does not need the show to tell them Bowie's smart, but instead the show trusts that the audience is smart enough to deduce that by themselves by watching Bowie's actions. This was my biggest problem with the character from the previous video, Scary Girl. Unlike Bowie, Scary Girl mostly tells instead of shows, making her a lot less interesting of a character and at times kind of demeaning. Another reason Bowie really stands out from the rest of the cast is just Bowie's charisma. If a show or movie can make you think a character is real, then it's done a good job. This is called immersion. Bowie does a great job at carrying scenes that would rather be boring without him. The scenes he shares with Emma are really great. While Emma gets steadily more and more angry over Chase, Bowie acts as the voice of the audience at home, reacting in the confessional about how arrogant Chase is and how Emma clearly won't let him go, despite the fact she clearly should. He also has great chemistry with another great character from the season, Julia. Their chemistry together reminds me sort of Alejandro and Heather, minus the sexual tension of course. Two forces that know they're going to destroy each other eventually, but have decided to temporarily team up to get rid of the weaker opponents. Julia also has this great tendency of pulling the more villainous sides of Bowie out, which I really enjoyed. Bowie, to me at least, wasn't a villain per se, but definitely knew how to play the part when he needed to. Now while Bowie is the best character in the season, I will say there are a few things that I couldn't overlook. Bowie at times can seem very overpowered. There's a scene in episode 13 where Bowie even states to the camera that he has won every single trophy from his school, and this is, well, a bit much.
Track and field, basketball, wrestling. I've won all the trophies.
Bowie already was a very good character, if not a great character. His intelligence and people skills were unrivaled by pretty much everybody. There was no need to give him beyond unrealistic athletic ability as well, especially considering he's a pretty skinny dude. Just look at his build. During the original seasons there's no characters who were even close to this. Every character had his weaknesses, every character had his flaws, and no one was a master at everything. But Bowie at times can seem like he's a little too perfect for his skill set. The term Mary Sue comes to mind a lot as there's nothing really Bowie's bad at. Looking back, especially strong characters had things to balance them out. Look at Lightning, probably the strongest character, at least physically, in the show. He had his intelligence that balanced him out. Or Heather, while being very smart and manipulative, was not a very physically strong character. Even Alejandro, who's the only character who I had even considered to be overpowered, still had many weaknesses. Bowie, on the other hand, does not. Realistically, I would say the only character who would have actually been able to beat him in the finale would have had to been Priya. I don't think having strong characters is a problem, but their ability ability should never become overpowered to the point it breaks immersion from the show. Overall though, Bowie was easily the best character from the new TotalDrama reboot. He stands out while watching the show with his great personality, knows how to play the game very well, and subverts expectations more times than not. Unlike others on the cast, he's not a boring and lazy mesh of previous characters. His biggest strengths are his people skills and intelligence, knowing just how to play others and in turn play the game itself. And whilst I do think making him athletically unmatched was a dumb decision, this does not ruin his character, and it's just a small thing to overlook. That's all.